What is up, people, and welcome back to the channel. So, back on the Hayabusa van build because we need to get it out of my way. So, I have been trial fitting stuff. So, my exhaust is going to go there. I'm talking to the fabricator of my exhaust. It's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be there. We've re-centralised the body. Got the wheel slightly centralised. We are still... The front end is a little bit back, but if I pull it back, it falls off the thing I've put at that end to hold it on. So, but yeah, we are middle there. Bonnet is sort of in line. The bonnet doesn't quite fit in the front end, but this bonnet was always tight on my car, and this is a custom front end. This is supposed to be a one-piece front end. So this is a very rare front end that it's actually been, the mould's been modified to make it to a two-piece. So there is going to be little here and there to make it fit. But considering we ain't sticking up much, ignore the throttle bodies, but we're not sticking up much, are we? But one of the reasons I put this on is so I can see my shock clearance to my bonnet. And I can just about get my finger in. But clearance is clearance, yeah, and I want the shocks as long as possible, yeah, so I can play with the travel. I don't want to have a really short shock that's got to be really stiff. So clearance is clearance on that side of things. So yeah, we're in front end. Yeah, this front, it's way far back this side. So anyway, checking out the seating position with the steering wheel as it is at the moment, with it being on this steering rack's gearbox. I have ordered a left-hand drive steering rack. Hopefully the weekend that should be landing. But yeah, you sit so far back in this thing. This look here looks like it's a freaking week away, you know. But right, what we need to do is, now I have confirmed that is where my rack is going, we can carry on with making the front of the chassis. Okay, so we are talking suspension now. More detailed wheels, hub placement. I need to work out my hub placement and what room we've got to work with. So basically, the idea around this car, it's to push what I can do with my mind. So you know we've got these bigger arms, which has moved the hub out for us, which has given us more track width, right? And then this way, the way I'm doing all of this is because I want more wheel on the inside than the outside to help with scrub radius. So basically, I want this to be smaller and this to be bigger. Yeah, so there's more gap on the inside here. So I'm just doing some, shit, that was sharp. Look at this little bugger. Mother trucker. He's taking the piss, isn't he? So that is what I'm looking at right now. And that's what we're going to focus on. Wheel positioning. Where the wheel's going to sit, this way, what I can get away with, where roughly the scrub radius is going to be. So I've done some quick drawings. This is our drawing. Now, let me try and go through it. Right then, so I started off with a smaller piece of paper than I probably should have. So my wheel, from very tip to very tip, is like 9 3/4 inches. But you don't calculate the rims. You know the bit that sticks out, the lip? You don't calculate that with these wheels. And then you also have to subtract the thickness of the aluminium. So my wheels are 9 inches. So this and this you don't really take into account. But I am, because I'm looking at wheel position relative to arch. Because I want this car to be capable to go in any series. So we can't have any wheel stick out, because they do not appreciate the wheel stick out. So what I've done is, this is my wheel. This is the center line of my wheel. So half and half is center line. That is the inner face that bolts to the flange, yeah? So that would be the flange. The wheel bolts go through there. So that's the old one. So as you can see, we've already got a bit of negative ET. Or is that positive? But there's more technically on the outside than there is on the inside. Even though you don't see it from the outside of the car, this looks smaller. And that looks bigger. But realistically, the hub face is the important bit. It's where it's meeting the center of the wheel. So we are off slightly. So I've took some measurements on arch gap and what I can do, and I can move this 1 inch, and that's the inside face of the wheel. So 1 inch further in, which, as you know, is a ton. 1 inch of offset on a wheel is 1 ton of pressure on a wheel bearing. So we're going to move this wheel back in. So we're taking off a ton of load on each bearing by moving this wheel back in, because say all the wheel was here and there's your face, you've got that leverage effect. Puts a ton. 1 inch is a ton. So we are gaining negative a ton on each wheel corner then. So this is going to be my new ET, which is about 15 to 18 it's about 17 mil. So we'll have a 17 mil ET, which is a bit of an oddball. It's a bit of an oddball size, but I know the rim sections you can only buy in 1/2 inch increments. So we've got a, you know, a little bit of here, a little bit of there. So this is going to be the outer face. This is the shiny piece that everybody sees. So technically this here is going to be our inner bell, our outer bell, sorry. Outer bell, and then all of this is going to be inner bell. You get me? No, so no, all the way to there. So that's going to be inner bell. See the size difference now? Because this bell actually comes there and they bolt through the back here into the back of the wheel. So we've got a bell there, 140 mil and 105 mil. Now I got that 105 mil from a measurement, and I shall show you. So this is my wheel hub as we sit now. So I've got a ruler and a Neville against the hub. Now we know that the hub is running at the camber that I'm going to run at. And then this, from the back side of the ruler, I did actually use a tape measure. Or hook on. So that in there, hard against the face. And then I've got the tape measure on the back of the Neville. And that is, see, 105 mil. It's a bit tricky, but that is 105 mil to there. It's about the same on the other side. I think it's 111 on the other side, but you've got to take into account this front end isn't fitted. It's held on by bungee cords. So that's that measurement. And then the back side, I did the same. Basically, I put that on there and then measured the rest of the distance in, which is about 140 millimeters. And we've got clearance to, you've got the arm there. We've actually got clearance. There's still about 1/2 inch, so, and we're going to be above the arm. So technically, I could probably pull another 1/2 inch on the inside of the wheel. Then that would take off total another ton, you know, overall, both sides on the suspension. Right then, a few days later, I fell ill. Kicked the pants out of me, I tell you. And then I had to go to the Classic Touring Car Race Club. Didn't even dime thing anyway. So, anyway, I started questioning a few things. And I wanted to get better measurements on what I was looking for. So, bring you up to speed. We have our left-hand drive steering rack. put in there. So I got this from my buddy at Old School Minis. And as you saw, we've made these longer drop links. These are just test pieces out of aluminium, just to get me somewhere where I need to be. And remember I was on about my gearbox being on the bottom? Well, it's on the bottom, but the issue is it's too low now. So basically, this is hitting on here. So I can't rotate until we come up with a design to hold the rack here permanent. Well, I don't really want to design that permanent until I know the hub end is okay. In case we need to, you know, bring this down a little bit. It might be too high. I might get away with bringing it down a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So we don't really want to fabricate anything more here until we know exactly where the hub end is going to end up. So I thought, right, I'm going to play with the steering column. And I ended up stripping this motor down, this Ford one. It's actually surprisingly light once you've took all the stuff off it you don't need. So there's like bits of column and brackets and nuts and bolts and levers and cogs. So got rid of all of that. I was hoping to use this, but that end is just miles different and it's cast. So welding it, and one of the bearings is a bit clunky. So I need to work out what that is though. I think it's a 3/4 36 spline. Because I'm going to buy new UJs and they're like a bit expensive, the ones I want to use. So I stripped it all down to this and I got this out. And I was like, I wonder if I can use this. Because this that's on. But it's a big... Get rid of that. It's a big collapsible shaft. See? Because it's an extendable steering column. But should we measure it? I've got the heater on a little bit. But all the way in. Put it all the way off. And we'll go for about 1.5 inches of engagement. So about that much. So that's engaged. So with a 30mm of engagement up to, we've got basically 4 inches, 110mm adjustability on the steering column. So I thought, but it's got a bit of movement in it there now. Because the way these systems work is they're split inside. It's 2 shafts held by gears and springs. And that's quite a lot. So I got the bearing off. That weren't going to work. So I made this little bush on the old fabrication lathe that just pushes in. It's not a tight fit, but it's a precise fit. Yeah? And that will get glued in. And then this pushes in the end. It's not a tight fit, it's a precise one. Yeah, because I don't want it to bind up. Now, there is 0 play. So technically, there's literally nothing. Yeah? I could run that like that. Glue that bush into there and use this unit as the second UJ on my system. Because it's got this pivot point here on the back. So if I mounted this to my chassis with like a bar or something to mount this, that could pivot. So that could become an actual pivot point itself. Because that's how it was fitted in the car. Then we've got an adjustable column by 4 inches. Yeah? That's quite a substantial amount. But anyway, that's just where I'm getting to with this. Remember we was on about wheels and offsets and bits and bobs and things and dangs. I wanted to redo my string line. So my string line is in the centre of the rear. Now I know that's the centre because my table's got a line all the way down here. And it runs to the centre of the ball joints. Now that's not the centre of the ball joint. That's the centre of the top of the ball joint. The ball is in there. And then you've got to take into account where the ball is on the bottom. So when you look down about here, we are passing straight through the ball and into the bottom ball here. So we're about here. It's not far off, should we say, yeah? And these Mondo Sport arms are freaking miles off. This should be here. So I don't know what's going on there. I know my chassis being longer technically moves the back end out more because this line's getting further away, isn't it? Anyway, so I'll put this bar here to run it past the hub. Then I'll put my rose joint in there, coming straight out the rack and on the line. So roughly that is where my rose joint needs to be in that correlation. Now I need to work out this correlation. But you have to remember when you bring it up or down, it moves in or out, doesn't it? So because I move that up, it's not on the string anymore, is it? So you have to remember that you've got to keep it on that line. So now that will need to come out. So this is the plan of action. I need to make some sort of call on how I want to go. I've had a chat with a friend of mine who, once I've got this mounted to this somehow, if I take this down to him, he says he'll help me out. He'll scan it. And his sons are really intelligent on the old CAD system. And if they can design me an arm that works with these pickups and these pickups, because these pickups aren't designed to have this movement on. They're designed for shear. So I want to utilise these and the pegs. So it's got a nice, good steer arm, and there's just going to be a small slot for bump steer adjust because I don't need it all. I know my discs that are going to come are 26 millimeters, and we've got 36 millimeters to the hub face. So we've got plenty of room if we need to get some rear force on it. Do you know what I mean? Some rear protection. So that's what I wanted to do first. I wanted to get that so I can roughly see what's going on. Now we need to come up with a way of sort of getting this to fit onto this, because I want to put a wheel on. Then I'll be able to see if I can nick any more space on the inside so I can push this hub even further out. Because all we've got to do is adjust these bottom arms, bring the bottom out, and move this whole setup in. Yes, it will change the point that this joint sits at, but we can modify that. As long as we're not a million miles away, I mean, it's only going to come out ½ inch. Do you know what I mean? Technically, I could rotate this bar, bring this up, and it'll move that out ½ inch. So it's not going to be masses, but it'd be nice to see if we can get that hub out a touch more. But this is just me thinking out loud. You get me? So I need to come up with a way of getting this onto there. Let me have a think. And this arm here, we do. I wanted it close. We don't. We need it. I might be able to move the rack forward a touch more. So closer that is to there, the more twitchy it will be. Because basically you'll have the less steering movements on the steering wheel, give you more movements. That's why when drifters only turn a little bit and the wheels are all the way over, don't really want that. But I've got to be careful on moving the rack forward because of this fitting. So I can probably only come ½ inch or so forward. Do you know what I mean? Before I start contacting that fitting. There's a lot to think about, isn't there? I mean, that distance I think will be fine. I just need to work out how I'm going to get that to work on there. Then we can put a wheel on and even run it through its motion. Do you know what I mean? because I want to put it left to right to see, because there's no point in me bringing this hub out, putting more inside bell on, and then it just catches on here. So we've got to be able to put it on full lock. I know this hasn't got rack limiters in yet, but put it on full lock, and I want to have good space between there. Put it on full lock and good space here. Because this wheel's not coming out like normal people who have massive outer bells, so it's swinging around like a fucking elephant's cock. It's all going to be on the inside. Because I need the clearance on this, the other side for the exhaust, don't I? Oh my God. Anyway, I've got to go and have some dinner. I might call this video here because we need to work together on this. And this video, I'm trying to keep them short and sweet now, just because we've got to keep moving. I need this car done. I need it as close to, I can't get it done because I can't afford to get it done, but we need to keep smashing it out, though, people. So, keep track for the next one. I'm putting more videos out, but it's got to be useful content. I'm not going to bother doing it. See you next one, people.